War rages on in the island nation of Jamaica. Jigen disguises as an ambassador and infiltrates the president's palace. His target is a painting of Venus that appears to be floating. He contacts Lupin to update him on the situation, but a woman appears outside his window while doing so. She enters and Jigen hides her when the police invade. She tries to shrug Jigen off as not being involved despite invading his room and borrowing his clothes, but eventually gives her name as Sandra. Lupin's on his way to help, but his plane turns around thanks to a martial law declaration. Zenigata follows after, so Lupin throws an umbilical in his direction. The plane is carrying too much weight, so the pilots, Fujiko and Goemon, give Zenigata a parachute and wish him luck. His fate is being caught by revolutionaries, but nothing else comes of it. Meanwhile, Sandra has made it to the presidential palace, aiming to steal the painting herself. Jigen arrives to help, but she's shot in the leg. Escaping to the sewers, Sandra explains that she was targeting the Venus. Back at the hotel room, she explains that it was a gift from her father, who was the leader who died in the last military coup. Her husband Guyler is a revolutionary leader, and the painting is a wedding gift that will symbolise freedom for Jamaica. Jigen offers to go in Sandra's place, but she warns him that the painting is tied up by an invisible web, hence why it was floating. One of the webs is also attached to a bomb. She can't walk on her injured leg, so she accepts Jigen's offer and helps him memorise the string to avoid cutting. Jigen also removes the bullet in her leg, but she passes out from the pain. Going in alone, Jigen sprays the web and identifies the one attached to the bomb. As Jigen works, a soldier holds him up and knocks the webbing during their fight, though nothing is triggered. The war rages on outside and Lupin manages to break in. Spotting the bomb, Goemon carefully cuts every string besides the trigger. Jigen takes it for himself, saying it's a gift for a woman. As Guyler pushes forward, Sandra wakes up to discover the Venus in her room, thankful that Jigen has kept his word. Rare that we get an episode with one character as the main focus, and this was a good one by all accounts. Like the Russian smuggling episode, we get a good look at Jigen's character and the type of woman that attracts him. Actually somewhat happy ending too, seeing as she doesn't betray Jigen or die at the end of the episode even if there's no chance they'll be together. The rest of the gang's appearances felt a bit of an obligation, though Goemon helping to free the painting did have its part at least. Never do see what happens to Zenigata afterwards, but I guess he just gets dumped off back at the nearest Interpol outpost or something. A reporter is giving a story on the eccentric artist Dare. The only one interested is Fujiko, as the gang don't really get modern art. The report then shows Dare's art has been stolen, with Lupin as the culprit. Investigating is Inspector Maigret, based on a similarly named fictional French detective created by Georges Simenon. Lupin decides to investigate, knowing he didn't do anything. Zenigata meets with Maigret to help out. They go to meet with Dare, and his weird front door almost knocks Lupin's Maigret mask off. Dare is courteous despite this, but freaks out at Zenigata's gift of cream puffs, claiming he's allergic. Lupin and Zenigata look around and question Dare, unaware he's got his foot on a button. The button lowers a cage, but they're interrupted by a phone call before they can question Dare about it. The real Maigret talks to Zenigata and tells him to bring Lupin to a nearby sea cave. Dare shows them a route to it at Zenigata's request, but decides to stay behind. Zenigata and Maigret disarm Lupin upon arriving. Maigret then uses a knockout gas in his pipe to knock out both Lupin and Zenigata. Maigret is actually Dare himself, intending to turn Lupin into his newest masterpiece of a human weather vane. Dare encases Lupin in a resin-like substance and heats him up, noting he'll be ready in 5 days. Zenigata meanwhile charges back to Interpol and chews out the commissioner. He's pulled up a file on Maigret, but there's no known info on him. Fujiko listens in and informs Jigen and Goemon of what's happened. Lupin wakes up, still trapped, but witnesses his ultimate fate happening to other animals in the same situation. The final day arrives and Dare heads over to admire his work. Lupin's still alive, though he fakes it as he's lowered into position. As the wind blows, he decides to shift in the wrong direction to mess with Dare. As the gang arrive, he reveals he's still alive to them. He managed to knock himself free of the casing and hid in one of his invisible balloons seen back in episode 29. Or at least that's what it looks like to me anyway. He tells them to call Zenigata under Magre's name to prepare. Lupin calls to the Magre's disguised Dare but remains in position. He then disarms him and the rest of the gang encase him in a giant cream puff. Lupin unmasks Dare and then rigs up his house to explode. He then wishes Zenigata well as he passes by, using Dare as his own weather vane. Modern art, am I right? Speak from experience too. Dare is of course based on Salvador Dali, still alive in 1980, which I'm sure people could guess given some of the art on display. Either way, a mad artist is up there as a unique antagonist at any rate. Plus it's nice to get a bit of a reminder that Zenigata can be competent, given he pulled up Magre's info pretty quickly. Goemon cuts his way through the Bank of France, even killing one of the guards. A news report even has Lupin wondering if he did it or if there's another Zantetsuken in play. Goemon points his sword at him, noting there's no blood on it. Fujiko enters with a letter from someone claiming to be Goemon, telling them to meet him at 8 PM the next day. This fake Goemon, actual name Nidaimon, also calls Zenigata with the same info, mentioning that Zantetsuken is set to lose its sharpness after 300 years. Goemon heads to the meeting spot and gets caught in a trap. Sure enough, Zantetsuken doesn't work and Zenigata has him surrounded. A helicopter arrives using a giant magnet to pull the police's guns away as well as Zantetsuken. Nidaimon is piloting, calling Goemon a liability and taking aim. Jigen counters and shoots Goemon free, allowing Lupin to safely catch him. Reading up on the sword, Goemon discovers his Zantetsuken was originally defensive, and that Nidaimon is descended from a rival clan, and does indeed have a second Zantetsuken made 50 years after Goemon's that was intended for attacking. Zenigata's surrounded them again by this point, but the only thing he finds when he gets inside is a projected image. The gang relax with a meal, and Lupin decides to help find Nidaimon. He fired a tracker on Nidaimon's helicopter when they were rescuing Goemon. Good thing too, as they receive a ransom note detailing that Fujiko has been kidnapped. Upon arriving at Nidaimon's castle, they're locked in and presented with Fujiko attached to a spinner. They're also separated by bulletproof glass. Nidaimon enters and taunts the gang with a knife throwing act on her. Or shuriken throwing act, I suppose. Lupin tries to ram the glass, but Nidaimon opens it and he crashes into the wall. On top of that, the Fujiko is a decoy. Jigen, as usual, suspects she's working with Nidaimon, but they decide to move forward anyway as she's still calling out. Avoiding various traps, the gang make it to Nidaimon's room. Fujiko swipes a diamond she was offered for leading the gang here, but they're all sealed inside. They're also above a pool of acid. Nidaimon tells Goemon to line up Zantetsuken with his sword, which will allow both to regain their sharpness over the next 8 hours. Nidaimon stops Jigen from making a move and dreams about successfully disposing of the gang. He wakes up to find Lupin taking Zantetsuken and tossing it to Goemon. Lupin used a magnet in his shoe to set the clock back 30 minutes, meaning it's already regained its edge. Nidaimon attacks but falls into the acid, courtesy of Jigen shooting a leg on his desk. Even the gang are pretty horrified by this one. As they leave, Jigen discovers that Fujiko's diamond is a fake too. Been a while since we got some Zantetsuken lore. Would be interesting to see more of Nidaimon's clan in another story too, though maybe you can headcanon he's a member of the Fuma or something. Have to wonder if Lupin III will still be going in some form 300 years from now when they come up with another story in a similar fashion to this one too. Lupin grills a man about a collection of Napoleon bills that was stolen from him. He gets no info, but Fujiko enters claiming it's in the possession of the cult leader she wants jewels from, sparking a reaction. Zenigata has infiltrated the cult but keeps getting the wrong guy. The ceremony sees subjects shed their earthly possessions and making them disappear. Lupin applauds the act, causing the leader to disappear himself. Zenigata makes a dive for Lupin, but he's prepared as always. The whole thing is of course a scam, designed to rob people of their money. The leader is also pretty dismissive of his subjects too, given he kills one of them with poisoned wine. He then goes through a list of other candidates with Lucia, the woman, picking a man named Hideki. Lupin decides to use the man he interrogated for more info and drops him to the leader. The leader isn't impressed and shoots him, soon discovering Lupin was listening in. There's another ritual, this time with Hideki. The secret to the disappearing is a hole concealed by the leader's cloak. Lupin is actually Hideki, his disguise failing due to a security laser melting it. The leader's on his way, so he's forced to hide. With Hideki nowhere to be found, the leader and Lucia check the security tapes and discover Lupin's infiltration. Outside, Jigen and Goemon discover the means of activating the hole, and Zenigata finds the real Hideki. The leader gives Lupin the chance to work in his cult, but Lupin refuses. In response, he has Lucia feed Lupin an apple that may be laced with poison. Lupin's luck holds out, but he gets fed the other apples anyway. Lupin's death is all an act, and he takes Lucia hostage. He had a bag in his throat that caught the apples. Jigen and Goemon join the fight, with Goemon burning the treasure. Or rather a blanket in the treasure as a means to freak out the leader. Jigen uses gunfire to stop the leader from running, but he has a contingency plan of strapping himself with dynamite. Lupin and Jigen surrender, but Goemon stands firm even in the face of gunfire. The cave starts filling with smoke, courtesy of Zenigata trying to force everyone out. Goemon takes this chance to cut the statue's head and knock the leader off his feet, allowing them to get the Napoleon bills back. With that, the gang escape as the leader blows up the cave. The gang are forced to run from Zenigata as Fujiko refuses to help, having not gotten her jewels. Watching this episode, it feels like not a lot really happens, despite a lot of violence and even the gang being harsher than usual. Not a bad one or anything, just seems like the antagonist setup could have been more elaborate in comparison. The cult leader had potential as a character, but besides him we only really get Lucia as having any personality beyond getting killed because the leader felt like it. I will say the funny thing about the throat bag is it's not the last time we'll be seeing Lupin use that kind of tactic to avoid ingesting poison in the franchise. Next time, a volcanic treasure, diamonds in the Alps, an expert in poison and a hunt for a butterfly bring us to episode 136. Until then,